Night, and I'm seeing so many of your messages just reacting to the first part of this interview. Let me just quickly mention one or two of those tweets. All right, David Ngure Nganga says, governors, and specifically the two in studio, seem to be playing politics. Is it reassuring to Wanjiko down in Wangige and Kakamega towns? Has it to do with 2022 and time running out? Okay, I'm sure they'll get a chance to respond to that. Samuel Urutwa says, the governors are asking for more money and yet they've not done anything equivalent to what they receive. It's beyond expectations from citizens. And EJ Nyamogo says, we voted for devolution only to receive corruption and nepotism at county levels. Counties must end and avoid ills that they borrowed from the national government in order to convince us about the steady release of more funds to the counties. And it's Kipleting. You say you don't think that there are people who are opposed to devolution. Governors are heads of counties and they have constitutional powers. What have they done to remedy the situation? Remember, people can also weigh in via 22422, our SMS line. Someone here, Kamau from Githunguri, says, Governor Nyoro is a former advisor to the president. Surely he can reach him with his concerns. And a similar question, someone with no name, you don't give us your name here, but you say, how difficult is it for these governors to reach the president on very important issues if they feel the CS Treasury is not delivering? Can't COG simply go and meet the president in person? Governors, that's what some viewers are asking you this evening. But let's also switch gears and focus on COVID-19, which Governor Paranya, I'll start with you on that one before I allow Governor Nyoro to weigh in on. And of course, that press briefing and meeting you had recently where there was the proposal for a lockdown in some of the counties that border the lake. But there are those who say that if the funds allocated to COVID-19 mitigation last year were used properly, there would be no fear for a lockdown because resources for the kind of third or fourth wave we're looking at would have been provided. We, for example, know that a Senate committee toured some of the counties, Governor Paranya, and what they saw were non-existent ICU beds, no PPE kits, etc. Why, Governor?
You remember very well, Mwaura, that we were given 5 billion. All counties, which we shared equitably to all counties. For example, Kakamega got 262 million. And this money was meant for us to prepare for the preparedness period, making sure that you have isolation wards, you have proper equipment, you have proper personnel, and that is what most of us did.
Most.
And if you remember, that was sometimes last year. From that money, from that particular disbursement of 5 billion, nothing has gone to the counties. And you have been seeing these cases rising, which means that counties have been left on their own.
Which is why I was asking you this. Was that money even used properly? For example, the Senate committee actually found that some governors diverted the resources for COVID-19 mitigation to other post-COVID investments, starting new business units or you name it. Were those wise decisions, Governor, when you now look at the state we are in?
That is unfortunate. This is unfortunate. If there is any governor who did that, that was wrong. Because this money was a conditional grant from the national government to make sure that you prepare yourself for future eventualities of COVID-19. And that's what most of us did. I was also criticized one way or another. But sometimes people do not understand. Those people who come from Nairobi do understand situations on the ground level. And if there was one case or two cases here and there of misuse, you cannot generalize it to all counties.
Okay, I'll talk to you a little bit about that, but let me allow Governor Nyoro to just weigh in on this, because he had actually some audit queries from the Auditor General regarding his county. Questions were asked about spending of 328 million, Governor Nyoro, without work plans, double payment. I'm glad you find that amusing, of allowances, because many don't, including procurement of non-pharmaceuticals worth 8.9 million, which was found to be irregular. Those in attendance say that your responses to the questions by the Auditor General were not assuring. What's your response to that, Governor Nyoro?
I think Wahiga, it is really unfortunate for people to overgeneralize issues. First of all, there is a procedure of how audit is done. And I was the second governor to appear at the Senate Health Committee. And after appearing in the Senate Health Committee, you give your responses. And we were given 7 days, Wahiga, to give our responses. And we gave our responses both to the Auditor General and to the Assembly. And the Assembly took our responses and wrote a report that will eventually be tabled in Parliament. The problem is, people want to say what they see. And I think Governor Oparanya has been very clear. First of all, we were given 5 billion shillings for COVID, assisting us to prepare for COVID across the whole country. He said he got 260-something million. I got 185 million. Out of that 185 million, you know very well, and Governor Oparanya has actually been a guest together with the CS for Devolution to come and see hospitals that we have established in Tigoni, which is our COVID center with 330 beds, in Wangige, which has not been opened because we've been waiting until the fourth wave and whatever. But when questions are asked in the audit, and you are given an opportunity to respond, how come that people do not look at those responses and say what happened? So I think for me, it is very, very unfortunate to overgeneralize. And on an issue like the one that we've been talking about resources coming in so that we can be able to prepare farm and non-farm for the fourth wave if it comes in July, if that is watered down by a few people who may be interested in becoming governors in 2022 by highlighting questions that were asked and were responded, but they don't go back to the responses, then it is unfortunate.
So in your view, the Auditor General's special audit regarding your county was erroneous?
I'm not saying that it was erroneous, and I'm saying, and Wahiga, you know, you are an expert, you know how audit goes. The audit, and this was a special audit, by the way, and in the special audit, there is no exit meeting in a special audit. So this special audit was done. We were not given an exit, all the governors were not given exit so that they can respond. So we were getting these questions at the Senate. We responded and attached evidence to the Senate. So what happens after that? The Senate writes a report that they table in the National Assembly. It is at the National Assembly that they will say this was not right or this was not right. But you know, you cannot now start to judge from the interaction that we had at the beginning. And that is what a lot of people would want to do in order to water down what all the things that counties are doing. I want to tell you, we are Kiambu. We are second to Nairobi. We were getting incidences that sometimes were higher than Nairobi. But, you know, later on, because of our preparedness, you saw very well that Kiambu was not even in the top 10. That did not happen by accident. It happened because there was clear planning. We were the first ones to install oxygen in July of 2020, when everybody else was talking about ventilators. So people forget about the great things that people have done, but they come in and monopolize on a few issues that can make their campaign platform better in 2022. Well,
for ordinary Kenyans, it's not about few issues, it's about taxpayers' money, Dr. Nyoro. So you'll understand why, you know, Kenyans will be fastidious in just making sure that every T has been crossed, every dot, you know, as well in line with that particular particular expression. But thanks for that response on that. And for you, Dr. Oparanya, on the same note, and of course, away from COVID-19, as a second-term governor, some of your critics raise questions about incomplete projects in your counties. And I can name some of them: Shinyalu Tea Factory, a milk processing plant in Malava constituency, a referral hospital as well, and concerns that you overcommitted county funds. And again, I'm doing this, asking you these questions on the back of governors demanding for more and accurate disbursement of funds. But what are you doing with that money? Governor Oparanya, how do you respond to your critics on that you have large projects but largely incomplete as well?
My projects are not large, and I plan these projects very well, knowing that within my 10 years I will have cleared these projects. But the fact that funds are not flowing in as they are supposed to, if a contractor raises 4 certificates and you don't pay, definitely the contractor will close down until you pay the 4 certificates. And now you get money after 6 months. When the contractor has gone away, you pay the 4 certificates. It takes another 3 months to remobilize to come back. Because by that period he went away, he got another contract elsewhere. I feel I didn't overcommit myself. And I'm sure if I got all the money within my period on time, I will have all these projects completed.
So it's possible that there are projects that you won't have completed by the end of your second term.
But remember also, government is a going concern. So you can't say this is the cut down. This is where we close everything. Whoever comes in, we open the tap. No, governments are going concern. Even at the national government, there are roads that are being, other projects are being, that goes on. Government is supposed to exist in perpetuity. Yeah, so you can't say that, oh, you have not, Oparanya has not finished the project, so whoever comes in, what will he do? No, he has to continue with my project. And that's what we have been saying, that we need a transition legislation so that it takes care of this, because I've seen, as a second-term governor, those governors who lost their elections and their new governors, they now ignore those projects that were done by the first-term governors and start the new project. That should not be allowed.
And yet you're
because this project, before you do it, you have gone through public participation.
And your colleague...
so this is a project of the people. It is not my project.
I don't know what your colleague in studio would think about that. He took over from the then governor. Is that a concern for you as well, Governor Nyoro?
You know, I can assure you, and you can check. First of all, Tigoni Hospital was started in 2015, and it is stalled. It was not even started by the immediate former governor. When I came in, I did not know that COVID would come. I moved in very quickly and started to work on 3 hospitals that had been stalled. Luckily enough, as I was completing Tigoni, COVID broke, and I got a COVID center with 330 beds. If I had started my own hospital somewhere in Goliva, that would have been unfortunate. I found 5 roads. One of them just across here in Thogoto, the other one in Roiro. They had been started in 2015. For all this time, those projects were stalled. I completed those projects, some roads in Thika, Gatito, and I did not start my own projects. I've not started a single tarmac road. I concentrated on the stalled projects. Because for me, what is important is service to people. So I think it is important what Governor Oparanya is saying, that we have a transition guidelines that says that if you come in, you have to complete that which was started. And that's exactly what we have done. Unfortunately, there are some projects that are still stalled because of the reasons that he is saying. And I have explained this, Waihiga, and I hope you get it right, that development funds cannot be committed for this year because you give a contractor an LPO. He says, pay me my current bill first before I take your LPU. That means that you even have more stored projects if that stalemate is not sorted out. So these are issues that are all related, but when we start to think about piecemeal, that stored projects without relating it to delayed funds, without relating it to COVID, that spent so much money and we had to go and invest on all these others, we have to look at these things holistically, not by piecemeal by piecemeal.
And that is where we want to take our next break. When we come back, I have only 2 questions for them. I know some of our viewers have questions, and we'll be wrapping up this discussion. The state of devolution in 2021. Next year, we'll be looking at pretty much 10 years of devolution if you look at 2013 up until 2022. And opportunities and the challenges, really part of the discussion that we're having this evening right here on Newsnight. We come back with a bit more on the other side of this break. You're watching Newsnight. Keep sending in your messages. 22422 is our SMS line. Hashtag is Newsnight. We'll be back shortly.